Okay, so I thought I'd do this quick top 10 video on Spectrum games because I wanted to put it up on Twitter and see what people remembered and what people actually played. Maybe people played more games than I did, very possibly. But when I look at lots of these top 100 games for the Spectrum, I know them all because I remember seeing them in magazines and I remember playing some of them. But they weren't the games I played. I played a lot of games that people probably even really remember because they're the oddities, or won't remember at all, and I'm sure other people do it too, for a whole variety of reasons. So I'm going to link on here. I'm going to put my top 10 games for Spectrum, and I got the Spectrum in 1986. It was my second computer after the 20, and I played games that were either free, came on a tape. I got them for cheap from the local store, got them to the library and copied them. I bought one or two big games later on, but not many. Mostly they were cheap games, or I got them when they came out on budget. So with less messing about on this, I thought I'd give you a quick rundown of my top 10 games. And some of them are going to be very weird and odd, but nonetheless I played them a lot. So number 10, it comes in at a game called Lightning Simulator. This refers to the Lightning, which is the F1 Lightning. It was a flight simulation game before lots of them came about, and it was a strange one, if I'm honest, because it was actually created by a guy who was a Lightning pilot, funnily enough, and he produced a very faithful version of the Lightning, an incredibly faithful version of the Lightning. It is a wireframe game, as we will see in a minute. I'll just set one up. You can see this is a Lightning that we're fighter piloting. You could fly this against this one and turn and shoot it. And it's a complete wireframe game. Quite impressive for the day. You could land, take off, you could do missions, you could refuel, all sorts of stuff that you would now consider a thing at the time. But this was all in wireframe on the Spectrum. Incredibly complex, difficult to learn, had no instructions with it because it was got from the library. But I played this for hours because I was determined, and I was a pilot at the time, and I was determined to learn how to play this game, as will be the case with lots of other simulators later on. So that's number 10 on my list. Okay, number 9 is one that lots of people probably know, and I played a lot because I got it free, which is a game called Batty. Batty was the Acolyte simulator of choice back in the day. This is actually a cracked version of it because it's easy to play on the game. But it came on a screen. I think it came on Sinclair user or something. I'll just start to make sure I've got my thing set up. And it was actually a wonderful game. Hard to deny it wasn't. It was a great little game for its day. As you'll see, if you've never seen it before, it's literally an Arcanite simulator. But it's a great one. It's fast, easy to play, colourful, has all the things you'd expect from an Arcanite simulator. You dink, you pang, you bang. Oops, that's not intended. Definitely not. But this, I played for hours and hours because A, was free. It's as simple as that. It's a great Arcanite simulator. So that's number 9 on my list. Number 8. 8 was a game called Pong, which is a table tennis game. And I actually have a feeling this was a game that I picked up as part of a pack of stuff. It must have been. I didn't buy it, so I can only assume it came as part of something else. But back in the day, I actually loved it. So play this way. Wait. Yep, that one. Okay. And if anyone ever played this, you'll remember one thing about it, which is music and the cheering crowds. Love the music. What a crowd. Genius. Serve. And I can't remember how to play it. But that was number 8 on my list. Ping Pong. It was a fabulous game, and I played it an awful lot. And I got really good at it, which is the point. Next one, another game that counts on a lot of classic games actually. Ping Pong definitely wouldn't have been. This one definitely will be for a lot of people anyway. And this is this game. And as soon as I put it up, people go, ah yeah, of course you've chosen this. Renegade. I saw this on my friend's computer first actually. He got it for his computer. And I got it. And in fairness, that's pretty much how I became the greatest fan. But music to die for, because I got the 128k. Hard as nails, tough to play. See, the skill in this one is getting away from the bad guys. Kick him in the nuts. Great game. Violent. Wonderful music. One that most people remember. If you never heard them, the 128 music on it is actually I think it's the best music in the whole thing. But comes in at number 7, which is harsh on it, but it was one of my favourite games and played a lot. This one, not so much. It's actually, a lot of people would say this is an awful game. I actually used to love this as a game. And it's a game called Footballer of the Year. And yes, it isn't the most fancy games. I love the graphics. I love the loading screens on the Spectrum. They're just amazing for their own reasons. Yes. No, I don't want to edit teams, which is quite good. You could edit teams back in the day, which is quite clever. Decent music. What's the game? No. I put my first name S-I-G. Starting Division 4. Correct, yes. And we're going to start with Swansea. Let's go with Swansea. I don't even remember who's the best one to go with. And I'm going to play for England. And start. Okay, I'm rubbish. And basically this game is a game where you play as a player rather than as a team or anything. And the idea is that you use these gold cards to try and score goals. And then you help your team. We'll do a review of this another time. But basically, goal. And that's all you have to do. You have to avoid the defenders and score. Oof. You can make it bend slightly, depending on which way you're moving, and all those things. Like that. Bang. Oh, misses the penalty. Goal. And then it affects your results. Doesn't always mean you win or lose. I scored 2 in that game. I always love this little typewriter thing. And that was it. And you went through the season playing and trying to get better contracts and win and all that stuff. And I love this, played this tons and tons and tons for hours on end. So that's my number 6 game. Okay. Next up is number 5. One that lots of people are going to love. And these start to get into more games that probably most people have heard of. Chaos. If you've never played Chaos, you really need to go download it, follow the Spectrum emulator and play it now. It is just a wonderful game. Nope. Gan. Yes. Number 2, making the Great Wizard. And basically you get to select a spell. And I'm going to do B for bear. No, I don't want an illusion. Continue the game. And you cast magic spells against each other. And I produced a bear. He tries to produce a shadow ward, okay? Nope. And it basically goes like that, and you kill each other with the spells. Anyone who's played Chaos, if you haven't, go out, play it today, and spend hours playing it. I spent about 2 hours playing it the other night. Definitely worthwhile playing this Chaos. Easy win. Number 4 of mine, more controversial maybe. I love this mainly because I loved the show at the time, and secondly, the graphics are wonderful. There's just nothing more to it, if I'm being honest. And it's trapdoor. And they come away, and he grabs what's his face? Skull or Skelly or whatever he's called. Grabs him, takes him away, and your whole you play the 2 things. But the graphics are great. It's just like the trapdoor. It's a fun little puzzler. It's not the best puzzler in the game world, but I loved it because of the graphics. They were amazing graphics at the time. Nothing ever seemed like it on the spectrum at that time. Big graphics like this were just not seen. You didn't get them. So an amazing game back in the day. Loved it. Played it to death. And that's my number 4. Number 3 up. Again, more people will have heard of probably, which is Hypersports. Hypersports was a weird mix of games actually, but they were really fun. Really fun, in fairness. So always play with a keyboard whenever you play this game, just a fact of it. And his first one is swimming. Oh, my daughter loves swimming, so she'd love this actually. In the lead, I think. So it was a weird mix of sports with Hypersports. You had things like shooting, archery, swimming, all games you wouldn't normally see on like Olympic sports like daily decathlon. They picked a random mix. That's what I liked about it, to be honest. Can I get a gold? Yeah, I got a gold with 31 seconds for what I'm going to guess is supposed to be the 100 metres. 2 lengths. 50 metre, and then you get into these ones. Oh, shooting next one, isn't it? Right. I mean, how I fail on that one. Anyway. So that's Hypersports. Weird mix of games. One we'll come back to. I'm going to go through each of these games and some point do like a little review of them, and probably go back and look at top 100 to specky games, because there's lots of games I've never played. Like I say, some I did because I rented them or got them elsewhere. But yeah, that's my number 3. Number 2. Well, as a kid, I was a big football fan, and the weird thing actually is with this one, I played this game more than I actually played Matchday 2. I preferred this game. Matchday 2 is more complex and all that gubbins, but I actually played this a lot. I think I had it longer. I think it came on a compilation tape. A lot of my games were compilation tapes. Spent like a tenner and got 15 or 20 games sometimes. Most of them were crap, but this is one of the ones that I remember getting and playing. Dreadful. But anyway, it is what it is. Sure, there's a button you could press or do something. And they all have to walk out, obviously. Anyway, basic controls. Matchday 2 was better. So Matchday and Matchday 2 are on the same list here for me. It's going to go out for a throw-in. No. Chop him down. Go on, son. Have his legs off him. So there you go. Heads it forward. Matchday, dead basic, but you know, I enjoyed it at the time. That was number 2. Number 1, my game that played for an inconsiderable amount of hours, I think, at the time, was this game. Which is a game called Laser Squad. If you've never played Laser Squad, this is actually a cracked version of it, just because the actual real versions never actually work. 2, 1, 1. Okay, I just have trouble with this one actually, funny enough. Give them all your weapons. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, and then you fight around these buildings. It's a XCOM before XCOM, basically, is what it comes down to. Easy as that. Really is as easy as that. You move around, you shoot things. There's like, I think there's initially 8 missions. I think they brought out packs later on Take that you could play more missions. Although I didn't play all those on the Spectrum. This was one of those games I could not spend any more time on. Spent hours and hours and hours and hours playing it, working out tactics, learning game tactics like that. So that's my top 10. A weird mixed collection of things in there, like Lightning Simulator, but I played for hours on end because I was into flight simulators. Things like Ping Pong, rather random. I think, like I say, I got it free. You know, some really odd bits and pieces in there, which I'm sure we'll come back to, and we'll do a bit of a review about how those games affected me. So it'd be great if you see this Twitter or you see the video later, and you want to comment about your favourite games, whether you remember any of these games or other weird games that you remember playing. I'd love to know about them and whether I remember them as well. The Spectrum was the greatest machine of all time at the time, although later it had the C64 and Amiga and all sorts of things, so I'll sure do the top 10 of those, because some of those are weird as well. So thank you for that. I hope you gives you a talking point and some memories for you to remember what games you played, because like I say, I didn't play some of the top 100 games that people play. I'll sign off now and see you later.